Hello friends, welcome to Code Board. So in the last video we saw what are arrays and why do we need arrays in programming. In this video we are going to see the actual demo of why do we need arrays and how to actually use arrays in the programming, especially Java programming. So let's quickly start with the video. But before that, if you haven't watched the previous video which explains the whole concept of arrays, do watch it because after that this video will be easier to understand. First, we'll understand why do we actually need array. So if you can see here, we have 5 variables and we have printed the multiplication of 5 variables with itself. If we run this program, we have output as 1 into 1, 2 into 2 and so on. Now this was okay for 5 variables. We initialized 5 variables and we printed the output of 5 variables. But what if we have 1000 or 2000 variables and we want to perform this operation on a lot of variables? In that case, we won't be initializing each variable and printing the output of the operation of each variable. That is not possible, right? So that is the reason we need arrays to perform manipulations on similar data types. So if you want to perform operation on let's say 500 or thousands or even 5000 data or 5000 integers, you can easily do it in 2 or 3 lines with arrays. How? Let's see. So I'll remove this and first we'll understand how to declare and initialize array. So let's start with declaration. Declaration can be done in 3 ways. There's not a lot of difference in 3 different types of declaration, but let's understand. So we declare the variable like this, int a, right? Similarly, we declare array as int my array. Let's call this my array. But the difference is, since this is array, we need to tell the compiler or the program that this is the array. We need to mention the square brackets. These square brackets tell the compiler that this is the array. So this is the first way of declaring the array. What is the second way? Let's see. There's not much difference. Let's call this array 1 and this array 2. So this square bracket that we can see here, we can place it over here. This is the second way of declaring, or over here after my array or the name of the array. So these are the 3 ways of declaring an array. How to initialize it? Let's see. Now since you have already declared my array, take it and to initialize it, we say equal to new. Now since everything in Java is treated as object, we take the new variable. About the memory allocation of array, we'll have a separate video explaining the details about memory, but we'll understand the syntax over here. So we need a new variable. And then again we mention the data type, square brackets, that is array. And now we'll see the first way of initializing. Again, there are 2 ways of initializing. One, you can give the size, and second, you can give actual values that are present in the array. So first, let's see how to give directly the values that are present in the array. So suppose if I have 5 elements in the array, I'm going to give it like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in this way, I can give 5 elements in the array. So this is one way of initializing it. Second way, we'll see in some time. So this is initialization and here we have declaration. Now we'll combine initialization and declaration. We don't need to write 2 statements separately for declaration and initialization. So you can remove this from here and just keep it here. This way. So here we have initialized and declared it together. So we are going to use only one array in this program for understanding how to access and modify. So let's remove the other 2. These other 2 I have just shown you for showing you how to declare in different ways. So we have this array of integer data type with 5 elements in it. How these 5 elements are going to be accessed? By their index. So this array will look like this from 1 to 5 and we'll have index for each element. Index starts from 0 and goes up to the size of the array -1. For 5 elements, it will go from 0 to 4. So at 0th position, we have 1, at first position 2, at second position 3, and so on. At fourth position, we have the last element. Now, if you want to print it by the index. So suppose I want to print the first element, will go as my array and will give the index 0. So this is going to print the element at index 0. Let's print this. So 1 is printed. If you want to print at 4th position, we have 5. So in this way. But what if we want to print all the elements? In that case, we have to use a loop. Loop that starts from the 0th index. So int I, the index of the loop will also start from 0. So int I, then I will go up to 5. So less than 5, because it should go from 0 to 4. So we are mentioning I less than 5 and I plus plus, incrementing each, and will print my array each value by its index. So I is the index that is iterating over here. So in the first iteration, it will print the value of my array 0, that is at index 0. So in the second iteration, I will increment to 1 and so on. In this way, each element of the array will be printed. So let's run this. So here we have printed all the elements of the array. So using a for loop, you can print the complete array. So even if you have 1000 variables, you can print it in just 3 lines. Now let's see how we can modify the array. So this my array I, if you want to change its value, you can say equal to, and now in this array, we'll assign the multiplication of this variable with itself. So like this. Now here you have assigned or changed the value of each element, and you have given it the value of multiplication of itself. So let's run this. Now you can see that the value of arrays have changed. For the first element, 1 into 1 is 1, so it is as is. But from second, it is 2 into 2, 3 into 3, and so on. So we have changed the value of array. You can modify the values of array the way you want by using a simple for loop. Now, what if I have 4 elements in the array? And if I try to access the 5th element, what will happen? Now this loop is running from 0 to I less than 5. That is 5 times. But we have only 4 elements. So what will happen? Let's check. The program will throw an exception after printing the value of 4th element. So this particular, after printing the value of this particular index, the program is going to throw exception because 5th element is not present. So it throws exception as array index out of bound. That is, index is not in the limit. So this is why we have this exception. So be careful of array index out of bound exception. Now we'll see the other method of initializing the array. That is, we are not going to give the values over here, but we are only going to mention the size of the array, that is 5, and then separately put the values in the array. Now I'll remove this modification part for now. Now if I try to print this array, all the values in array are initialized to 0 by default. So we have given the array of size 5 and the program has initialized all the values to 0. So if you don't give any value, they are going to be initialized to 0. Now let's give the values in the array. So for the first index, if you want to give, you give as my array, and since we are giving at 0th index, we are going to give it as 1. Similarly, at first index, we'll have 2 and so on. But you can't keep on doing this for every element, right? So we can simply take this in the loop and assign the values in the loop like this. We can say my array of I, because I is the iterating index, and since our value starts from 1 but index from 0, we are going to give value as I plus 1. So in this way, you can give any value in the array. Using a for loop, you can iterate the for loop and assign values to the array, or you can simply give it directly by the index. So let's run this and check. And we have our 5 values printed. So initialization part consists only of size, and then we have assigned values to the array. Now other way to iterate the loop is, now if you don't know the size beforehand, then what you're going to do? We can use the length of the array. How? I less than my array dot length. In this way you can use to iterate the loop, the length of the array, if you don't know the size of the array. So if I print the length, let's see what happens. So length is 5 and we have printed 5 elements here. So using the for loop, you can modify, access and give values to the elements of the array. We have some predefined functions like length, etc. More predefined function we'll see in the later videos. We'll also see how we can do different programs with the help of the array and actual use of array in the upcoming videos. But this video was limited to declaration, initialization and use of the array. We also have multidimensional arrays in the upcoming videos. And one more for loop we can use for accessing the array, that is enhanced for loop. That too will have a separate video. So for all those upcoming videos and to do more practice on arrays, stay tuned and subscribe to our channel and also like and share this video. Thank you.